Philadelphia. Hello, everybody. It has been an amazing, 5 weeks since me and Stan just talked about this team, and we're sitting here going, nah, this Giants win doesn't mean anything. They're not really doing anything special. And boy, oh boy, they haven't lost since. So technically, the layoff, I think, was good luck for everybody. And I'm so happy to be back here talking to you about how special Saquon Barkley is. And mainly, I've got a question for you, too, that I want to get into deep into this episode. What is Nick Sirianni's coaching style? And I just want to put that in your head for a minute, because I want to talk about how special Saquon Barkley is. And you have heard already for the last couple of days, as we're sitting here recording this on a fine Tuesday morning with a fresh cup of coffee, that obviously the talent of Saquon Barkley and how badly the Giants missed. It's an every week story. And guess what? I don't get fucking sick of it for 1 second. I don't get sick of talking about Saquon Barkley as we're looking at Daniel Jones probably going to join the Baltimore Ravens by sometime this week, I would assume, or the 49ers or whatever. Everybody that has left the Giants has gotten better, which tells you how bad that organization is. And this is something that I believed in from the beginning of the year. Can you imagine how bad a franchise has to be to make Saquon Barkley's talent look smaller and smaller and smaller, to the point where we all at one point just said, man, they really did ruin him. They ruined him. And that's why you don't start a franchise unless you have an offensive line first, and so on and so on. Everything that the Giants did has worked out in the Eagles' favor, and I'm not even talking about on the field stuff. Can you see now, after the weeks and weeks and weeks of Saquon Barkley being a Philadelphia Eagle, how amazing of a teammate that man is? You know, I know we all saw him running down against the Rams when Kenny Gainwell scores that touchdown, but just everything. The fact that he got mic'd up with Nick Sirianni when he originally wanted to break his, whatever that was, 217 yards, and that's just probably like Shady McCoy's yard record in my head, so correct me if I'm wrong on that. And he says, no, just go let those guys eat. And then when it was his turn to freaking cap off and finish off the fucking Rams, he not only breaks his personal record, he breaks an Eagles record. You know, like he knows that his time is always going to shine because that's how good he is. That's how fucking confident he is in his ability, right? And the Giants almost took it out of him. Even if you were debating whether Saquon Barkley or Daniel Jones or whatever the fuck they were thinking in their head going, yeah, I understand that this is normally not what you do. You pay the quarterback. You say goodbye to the running back, even though we love him. But as a teammate, how is he not worth that extra $6 or $5 million to the New York Giants to keep that locker room together? And essentially, that is the biggest selling point for Saquon Barkley because he's already a generational talent. We can confidently say that now again, because he's in an environment where he can succeed. And as a teammate, everyone gets better around him. Him and Jalen Hurts look like they've been best friends for 10 years. The fact that Jalen's pointing on that last 70-yard run to finish those motherfuckers off tells you everything you need to know about that man. That's why he's worth the money. And yes, my Iowa bias has always slanted like, I don't know, Saquon Barkley's just okay. But no, man. Everything you and I have talked about this season. Is he the best running back in the league? Yes. Should he be leading out on the first quarters? Yes. Should this offensive line, this huge just mountain of fucking meat, now that Jordan Mailata is back here, now that Mekhi Becton's even playing better at guard, and better, and he loves it, which is something that no one thought he could do, again, up in New York. That place is a fucking cesspool. I don't care if you're the Jets or the Giants. Come to Philadelphia and you'll succeed. That's it. Stoutland University and Saquon Barkley is, you can't do anything about it. Do you realize that we have not bitched about Jalen Hurts once in these few weeks other than like, that was a bad throw, probably shouldn't have, that looked like an interceptable ball. Not against the Rams. Sharp as shit. 15-yard comebacks to A.J. Brown. No Smitty. No problem. These guys are impossible to defend. Impossible. And he's the reason why. He was the last thing that you needed to go, oh shit, now everybody's open. He's one of the best players in the league. He absolutely should be MVP. And I saw Emmanuel Acho saying, listen, if he breaks the all-time record, if he breaks Eric Dickerson's record, which, by the way, I think is possible, and he can do it in 16 games to make it legit. I think all of that's possible. Like, he is MVP. He is borderline just as good as, and I think he is. At this point in time, in this moment, this could all change in a year, but Saquon Barkley is the best offensive weapon and the best thing on the Philadelphia Eagles offense, bar none, hands down. This unit was about to run into a goddamn mountain until the offensive line and everybody went to Nick Sirianni and said, hey, what the fuck are we doing here? And you and I said that too, probably a million times. And now we've arrived. We have arrived right back on where I thought this team was going to go with Kellen Moore. And that's the other pushing factor of this. The moment that me and Stan started bitching about this, I did not believe for 1 second that Nick Sirianni was going to let Kellen Moore do his thing. And I owe Nick an apology, at least on that part. Nick is not stupid. All that stuff I said in the offseason about him coming up and saying this offense isn't 95% new or whatever Jalen Hurts said, that was all strategy. He knew it was going to take a lot longer than the first couple of weeks of the season for everyone to be comfortable under Kellen Moore's new offense. And the injuries to the offense did not make that easier to get to. You know, we all sat here wondering why Dotson and all these guys are just like, man, this doesn't make sense. The defense was struggling a little bit. You're on your third coordinator in 3 years for a lot of these guys. And now it's fucking elite because everyone understands what they're doing. The fact that throughout these 5 weeks, they have adjusted. You have seen Jalen Hurts do a 7-step drop back under center. Motion has increased. Everything's going that way. And that is all we ask for. Please, God, let this guy do his thing because these two guys are really smart. And the previous two coordinators, man, I don't want to get in a tinfoil hat theory, but this was all worth it, wasn't it? Even if they were intentionally tanking or not, this ends up being all worth it. Yes, Vic Fangio is worth waiting around for because no one knows what to do now. We'll get into Jordan Davis. Listen, here's all I'll say. Jalen Carter and Milton Williams are going to send this team into the Super Bowl. Guaranteed. I am so upset that BG went down, and I think it deserves its own episode, so I'm going to leave that there. But all of this combined, we are right back to whatever vibes you want to call it. 22 vibes, 17 vibes. You got top 10 all over the place on both sides of the ball, and I think they've just barely touched the surface on what a Vic Fangio defense can now do with that man from the University of Iowa. Man, that fires me up, guys. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it right now. That's how much Cooper DeJean. That's how much Quinyon Mitchell. And I know he had a bad game, man. But they're there. Way faster than I thought they'd be. Especially with Quinyon. Whew, we're back. We are so fucking back. And here we go, okay? What is Nick Sirianni's coaching style then? Because I'm not here to say I was completely wrong, or I just don't think you and I are viewing Nick Sirianni like what a modern NFL head coach is. And I'm not saying you don't have to have the X's and O's. And yeah, there is a lot of, like I asked on Twitter, I asked a couple people, I just said, hey, what is Nick Sirianni's style here? It's just, I get Homer Simpson from my boy Chip Reederson. He's just lucky. And then Curtis Moore chiming in saying, players coach. He's a good leader. He lets players shine. And when everything is going well, he takes the hits. And yeah, I do agree a lot of that. And like everybody in here is just saying, OJ Spivey, who I love to death. As I wrote, a good leader, but a good leader of men, but as goofy as many people who has wanted him gone. And yeah, I've been one of those people because I can't. This is what happens in sports when I can't physically or tangibly go, well, what do you do? It is never looked at as a mental side of this thing. And I'm going to tell you why Nick Sirianni, I think, is a great coach and does need game day help. I think both of those things are true, and it's a lot of what I've always felt was true in that locker room because we have tried to crack this nut for 2 years now. I'm like, all right, who really does like Nick Sirianni? What are the positive? What can he do for you? Psychologically, these young men, these very young men who are now like, if you're 26, 27, 28, you're an elder. And in life, you are not a fucking elder at 25, 26, 27, 28. So I'm going to tell you exactly what he does for those guys. He is their emotional leader and always will be. And that is more important now than ever because a lot of the old school football people didn't have to deal with as much noise as you do now. And we know that's true with social media, and I'm not here to be a dad, but you got to remember, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, late 90s, literally up until the iPhone was around, 2005, 6, whenever that was, YouTube, when that started emerging, players could still be anonymous. Now, forget that. And you're seeing it across the board. You saw Patrick Mahomes, his house getting broken into, right? And we all have our opinions on why that happened. But it's just, listen, it's easier to track you down. It's easier to find out where you live. And it's easier to get into your head and to tell you you're a piece of shit, right? And you can go to Nick with that bullshit imposter syndrome that all these guys probably do have in that locker room, making millions of dollars or thousands of dollars and, like, basically everything Brandon Graham has ever expressed in his career. Like, think about that. It is 15 times worse if Brandon Graham were to come into the league and take the same steps and hear the Earl Thomas bullshit. Nick Sirianni is here to make sure both feet are on the ground the way they want to be on the ground, right? And Nick has probably gone through that too, just with us as well. Like, I am sure we have affected his mood. And I'm not apologizing for the critiques because whether it's supposed to be directed at Howie Roseman or Jeffrey Lurie or Nick or whatever, it's just on game day, there seems to be some lackadaisical things happening. But when you kind of take this thing back and go like, yeah, this has been proven forever that Nick Sirianni is not great yet with X's and O's, situational stuff, and it does seriously remind me a lot of Doug Peterson and the same approach. And we're not approaching anything differently here. We've just got a much better fucking quarterback because Carson Wentz couldn't handle any of this stuff. None of it. All of it. Psychological. Yes, the injury that I understand that. But now, this seems like a deflector shield for all that bullshit. And the fact that Jalen Hurts as well can do that. And it annoys people sometimes when it's, motion, not emotion. But look, we're right back to everyone loving Jalen Hurts again and his leadership skills because they're winning. Do I think there are massive, massive brain farts with Nick Sirianni on game day? Yes, I do. Do I think that of Jalen Hurts as well? Yes. And to me, that's getting less and less. Less and less and less and less. Because everyone's on the same page. And whether you still think that Jalen deserves more critique or Nick deserves more critique, one thing is for sure, they're not allowing bullshit to get in their way this year. So you can credit both people with that, in my opinion, especially with how bad things were last offseason. And I don't think we underplayed how everyone was frustrated. I just don't. There has been big, humongous landmines avoided as well as creating them, right? And the more and more we learn about Bryce Huff, probably went from uncomfortable to injury to just like, hey, let's go just chill out for a while, okay? And it's unfortunate now because BG's down. You kind of get that sense of like, yes, this is kind of how it went for us. We lost some guys in the beginning of the year. Now we've lost not only our best pass rusher situationally with Brandon Graham, but also one of our captains, our emotional leaders. Very much reminds me of Jason Peters going down, And now Brandon Graham gets the favor return because I see somebody holding up his jersey in the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. So, yes, I don't think we were wrong. I really don't. I think this team just needed time, and that's where we were wrong. Nick Sirianni did change. Jalen Hurts did change. They keep getting better at things. They have fixed things. That continues to happen. They will get healthier. They will get more injured. And guess what? They're going to find a fucking answer because nothing scares them this year. Nothing. That's credit to Nick. That's credit to Jalen, to Kellen Moore, to Vic Fangio, all of those guys. The nucleus of what they've created fucking works. And I'm tired of debating it. Because it's working. They listen to us, they listen to themselves, and more importantly, no one's gonna fucking beat this team in January. No one! You understand me? Fucking no one's gonna beat this team. I'm gonna enjoy every single moment of them mauling everybody else. I'm gonna look at Josh Harris in the fucking eye and say, welcome to the NFL, bitch. I can't wait. I can't fucking wait till January, guys. I'm pumped. I hope you are too. Woo! I feel good. I hope you feel good. And jump into the Discord down below if you want to keep talking. Follow me at John Barchard pretty much on any social platform, including Twitter, Instagram, and now Blue Sky. And I'll see you next week.